Let go.
Hello everyone and welcome to Let Go, the podcast.
Just relax and let go.
Today is the 7th of July 2016. 7-7 Power Number Day. Welcome to podcast number 2. On tonight's show, geoengineering, spirituality, a special extended musical section, and a special guest star. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in again this week to podcast number 2. Yeah, we made it to a second one. I think that's always a good sign. Many great ideas can often, especially with me, can often filter away after the first attempt at them. So this is a very important podcast to me to actually have done the one last week and to have come through to do this one. So we can definitely safely say from now on, every Thursday is the time for Let Go the podcast. Well, this week now we have a different kind of show than last week. This week we have someone on for a short time at the beginning called Jay Brady, and he is going to talk to us about geoengineering. Then we're going to go into a specially extended musical section. The reason it's extended is because there's actually some recorded live performance from Andy O'Sullivan. Andy O'Sullivan from Abbeyfeale. It's famously yet another Limerick man not from Limerick. His music is brilliant, and we'll also be talking about homelessness and the state of affairs and life in general, and so that'll all fit in nicely into the middle. Then, wait for it, special guest time. I'll have to get some class of drum roll downloaded. Special guest appearance by the man from Corofin himself. I have Tommy Collins. Special interview with him for later on in the show, and we'll be rounding the whole thing up with a very great dear friend of mine, Owen O'Flaherty from Tipperary. Very, very gentle, calm man, and I've learned a lot from him, and he has encouraged me a lot. So I can truly say I love the guy, and we'll be talking to him towards the end of the show, and we'll be using a bit of music and humour. But my week was very strange. I think I can actually safely say that every week for quite a long time now have been very strange. And the strangeness of it is because it's all new. Once we start following our own path, following what we feel to be true, what we feel to be right, what we feel feels right, makes us happy, makes us smile. Once we start doing that, we finally break out of that shell, and that's when it all starts growing. Well, I went to Tipperary. For a good friend's show. She directed it and starred within it. It's a show, professional Broadway style, originally written by a friend of hers. It was called The Awakening, and her name is Dee Dempsey, and I had been up there last week to cover some rehearsals because I was videoing it and taking pictures of it. But I was also extremely interested in going to see it. That was actually how it had all started. I wanted to see it. So it's been wonderful following these kids over the last couple of weeks and Dee with them. in this wonderful play written by Derek, and it's all about like releasing ourselves, freeing ourselves, and becoming our own puppet master, not allowing someone else to pull the strings. We pull our own strings. And this is what this show is all about, letting go of all those inhibitions, letting go of the fear, letting go of the darkness, letting go of guilt, letting go of remorse, letting go of all of those negative emotions. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a case of just having to say, oh, there's one, I'll let go of it and off you go. You have to really let go of it, and that's an actual, it's like discovering a part of yourself and actually cutting it off. And it's that fear that stops us from doing it sometimes, very often. And it's just a case of understanding that life is pretty simple, but we make it complicated. And if we just let go of our inhibitions, our fears, we can triumph. And now we go into a short interview with Jay Brady talking about geoengineering. So you're basically you're kind of a bit of an expert on what's going on with the weather and everything, is that right?
The weather, I wouldn't say I was a bit of an expert on, but I can see what's going on.
And tell us a little bit more about that. So what is going on?
Probably I would say geoengineering. A lot of people say chemtrails. I would say chemtrails myself, because although it is supposedly now at this moment a bit of a myth, as people just, well, everybody I suppose would class as a myth, or, well, especially those who can't prove it. I can prove what's going on. I can't, like, decide to tell people to wake up to something they can't see, because if you don't see it, what can I do? I've only recently come across a fact that I know. I've tried to talk about this before, and I have just come to the realisation that I cannot force people to look at something they don't see. You know, I see it, and I'm trying to explain, I'm giving the facts, I have everything there. If people don't listen, what can I do? I have to move on. So ultimately, basically, well, what is going to happen is their ignorance will prove to be bliss. It will, absolutely.
So
for them it will, but not for me.
But so what are some of these facts? Like what is it that they're doing in the chemtrails?
Well, I say chemtrails, but other people don't see it as that for starters. It is geoengineering for starters. I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Now, you have, you have the American government openly admitting that this happens. Basically what they're saying is it's to combat global warming, okay? To me, global warming is a carbon tax. Now, this is my view. Well, if other people, I feel, if this comes to me, talk to me, I will say it, I will admit it, I will show you every proof. I can't say it on the radio now, but I just don't have the time. But I'm just saying, please come to me and I will explain it to you.
Right.
It is a carbon tax, it is a global warming myth.
Yeah.
Global warming seemingly, or the freest the ice age, it happens every so many thousands of years anyway, because it is, in essence, in there, Earth tilts on an axis. It does, it happens. So, next question, whatever. If anybody, as I say, if anybody wants to ask me that and on that, come to me.
Well, being the kind of like the devil's advocate here now is,
okay.
But like I can't cloud my own knowledge of chemtrails and geoengineering and everything, but like to be honest, if I knew nothing about it, I still know nothing about it. all I've heard is you telling us that there's chemtrails up there and they're trying to kill us, but there's absolutely no proof whatsoever here, no evidence other than just your hearsay is all that's come forward so far.
Yeah, very good point you made there, but for starters, I did not say they were trying to kill us.
Yeah, that's probably me adding that in, yeah. Fair enough, fair point.
That.
Yeah.
You did add it in.
Yeah.
I never said that.
Yeah.
Okay? All I am saying, okay, if you really want to go where I think they're going and you want to know where I think it happened, for starters, I have been saying, and along with many others, that it does happen. And without me even saying or proving any links on YouTube or blah, 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 whatever the fuck you get, sorry for the language, wherever you get your links from, it does happen. Because all you have to do is look up into the sky, okay? You will see a thing such as a contrail, as we all know. And look, it's all been said before, but I will say it here now in my view. There's such a thing as a contrail, which is, in my view, spent air, fuel, jet fuel, by the way, and it meets, warm air meets cold air. It condenses. We all know this. Yeah. We all see it, and it's so hot up there. The fuel, the jet fuel, it comes out, and it's very noticeable. But it also dissipates very quickly. Okay, we all know that. We see this. This was the olden times.
Yeah.
But now we also see, if we just look up, and please, I'm asking people always say to me, I can't see them. And I say, look beyond the clouds. But before these so-called clouds now that they are doing at night,
yeah,
people are blind to this. They say, oh, the clouds weren't always there. They were always there. Oh, look up at night. Look at how clear it can be. Now, I'm going back to what I was saying about the contrails versus chemical trails or chemtrails, okay? Yeah. This is how it happens. They also do the same thing. They will dispense this trail, okay? Only it's much longer. It's much skinnier. All you have, people, just look up. That's all I'm asking. Yeah. It does happen. Look up and you will watch these trails. The length of them, they're so much longer than a so-called contrail.
Yeah.
So much longer. They actually expand the whole horizon in some cases. All you have to do is look. But unfortunately, we will not get these skies anymore to see these things because it is happening. It is happening at night. They're manipulating us into. Look, there's a film called Jaws that was made in 1975. It was on a VHS video home store.
Yeah.
Okay. Liz, I hope you just coughed there.
Yeah, that was just a cough. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, this is real.
Yeah.
Just look at it. You have a VHS, it's on tape. Now look at the digitally remastered version today. They have clouds in this where it wasn't in the original version. Yeah. They're desensitizing people. Do you want to ask me a question on that?
No, I'm just wondering, I just wanted to try and help the people that probably wouldn't maybe know too much about these.
Okay.
I think we now have some sense of what's different between a chemtrail and a contrail. That a contrail only comes out for a short time behind the wake of the plane and dissipates quite quickly afterwards. The ones we were always used to as kids growing up, and you do still see those today. And the chemtrail then is one that comes out like a contrail, but it doesn't dissipate and is still in the sky, possibly hours after the plane has passed by. That's basically the difference between the two trails. Is that right?
Yeah, no, it's not actually. No, I still haven't explained what a chemtrail is.
Sorry?
See, people. I said I still haven't explained what a chemtrail is because. You see, people think of chemtrail as what I just pointed out earlier on, a big long trail of whatever, okay? Well, I want to get back to that. A lot of people, and me included, I actually believe this. Unfortunately, I cannot prove it. I really can't. And not this I can't. I cannot prove Myself, I can't prove it, but it has been proven by other people. All I'm saying is the proof is out there because they have did soil, water and air tests, okay? Ordinary people. But you see, unfortunately, Lidge, we can't get this out into mainstream media because mainstream media, which is MSM, if you see this on Facebook,
But Jay, see, this is the point I'm trying to get around to you, that basically, the only reason I have a clue what you're talking about is because I know about this stuff already. People listening to this that don't know about this, just think that there's someone talking absolute bananas on it right now, and what the hell is he on? Because it makes no sense. And I just want to actually just give like a black and white layman's simple explanation of what a person who hasn't got a clue about this, what they can look for, what might make them suspicious, what might make them start asking questions, which is what we want, is it not?
Well, that's what I want. I would have thought I quite clearly said all that there earlier. But if you really want, I don't know. I don't get the meaning of that. But
well, I don't know. It could be just me. It could be just me. But I don't think it was very clear. But I just wanted to try and clear it up. What? Like, first of all, what are we looking for? How do we distinguish it from something that's harmless? And what is the thing we're looking at?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I'll try and explain it in kind of 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, sure.
Basically what you're looking for is every now and again there's a really clear blue sky. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? Without any clouds.
Yeah.
Now you also have to look at that sky and say, is it clear? Not true what you're used to. Look at what you remembered. Look at what I remembered as a clear blue sky. And then look, and some people call these things sylphs, S-Y-L-P-H-S, sylphs in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I don't know where the fuck, because I've checked that, and like, sylphs to me are angels that are looking after the sky, right? Which is a load of codswallop, if you ask me, because, like, you know, these are certain things that people will have you believe, along with the desensitization that they do to us. On TV, on media, on everything else. But I can't stress this enough about this bloody sky business. Everybody has problems. We all have our insignificant little things in life, you know. We all have our politics. But it will all pale into insignificance if this is not sorted out. Because people just do not want to face up to the facts. You can edit this out if you want.
No, it's not that. I'm trying to actually get this message out clearer for the listeners, actually, that it really might just be me, but I hear a very passionate person who can't believe that people aren't understanding this, but I can't understand you. So how can you expect people to understand this if I can't even understand what you're trying to tell me? Because I just want you to tell me, what is a chemtrail and what does it look like?
Okay. So the US government admits, now this is...
No, Jay, let me stop you right there. What is, what's it made out of? Like, a contrail, you've told us what a contrail's made out of, like jet fuel, water vapor, etc. What's a chemtrail made out of?
No, okay, right. I believe, and I know, well, I actually know from research I have did, and I've watched the trails of aluminium going up. That is weird, isn't it? And if you want a proof, I can show you links on the radio. But,
but we can share links after the show anyway of any appropriate links that you wanted to share. But so what exactly is in it? Because I didn't quite hear what you were saying there. Aluminium, is it?
Aluminium, yes. Because the reason why they say it is, and they actually admit to this, World Global Forum, World Geoengineering Forums, all these blood by the what it's geoengineering. They say it at these meetings that they are spraying chemicals to reflect the sun back out in space because to combat global warming.
All right. Okay. All right.
So you could, in essence, you could say, yes, you would think that was a good idea, wouldn't you? If we really had a threat, wouldn't you? You really would. You would say, what would be the best way to go about this? Yeah, we will spray reflective particles.
Well, if that was a good idea, why not be open and fully?
Yes.
You know.
Why are we not told about this?
Yeah. Why are we not told if it's such a good idea? Exactly. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. But yes, they do admit it, but yet you have to go for US patent numbers on these things.
Yeah. So you have to get yourself into a position of being vilified as a conspiracy theorist in order to dig as deep as you can get to the truth. Yes.
Yeah. And we all know what happens to the major conspiracy theorists, but
yes.
Look, that's my view. It's allegedly, okay? Now, I would never say that about. I would never admit that any government would kill anybody on purpose. No. I really wouldn't do that. But I would not say that it was untrue either. You know?
It seems suspicious that a lot of people in alternative fields right across the board seem to mysteriously die quite a lot, way above the national averages, let's say. Yes.
And more so lately.
Yes, and more so lately, yes. But as you say, this is all just alleged stuff, but just to know that what we were hinting at there.
I think the real people will know what we mean when we say allegedly, because, look, we could go into a lot of stuff there, and we can also go into geopolitics and what happens in the great US of A, because which directly affects us all, and it will. So, anyway, Midge, I hope I kind of clear things up, and if anybody wants to go any further on this, also look into TTIP, which is on CETA, CETA, because it's very important and it's going to affect us very soon.
Yeah, next week we're going to focus a little bit more on TTIP. Actually, we have a couple of guests that know a fair bit about it. So
wow.
So it was a lot of people had been mentioning it recently, so I knew it had to be dealt with fairly quick. So we're going to go into that next week.
Don't edit that bit out.
No, God, no. Don't worry. I try not to edit anything out if I possibly can. I like to try, even though it's recorded, we like to try and just keep it flowing at the same time, like, you know what I mean? So.
Okay, well, don't edit this out either, by the way. I just want to say one thing before I go. Nige, by the way, just rang me, right? And you asked me this shit. So, fuck off, the lot of yous. I did not. I only gone on the research I have learned, not on notes that I have in front of me. Nothing. He rang me. Thanks, Nige. Bye.
Alright, okay, Jay, thanks very much. So that was Jay there. Thanks a lot to Jay.
when it's deal or no deal.
Right, that was Deal or No Deal from Andy O'Sullivan, and we have Andy here on the line. Andy, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Rich.
Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and that song.
Right, I'm a musician living out of Abbeyfield in West Limerick.
Now, hang on, let me interrupt you now, first of all. Would it be true to say that you're a Limerick man who's not actually from Limerick?
Yes.
Aha, another one. I don't know, have you heard last week's podcast yet already, but I have had this kind of running theme of Limerick people not being from Limerick, so you're another one. So sorry for interrupting you there, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a second generation Limerick man, you could say. So I'm a musician working out of Abbeyfield. The song that you played there, Deal or No Deal, I wrote a few years back now. It covers quite a couple of topics, really, I think, in the song, the lyrics. Mainly to do with the difference between, sort of, if you like, people who have power and people who have nothing, sort of thing. You know, it's a case of, a viewpoint, if you could say, from someone who's at the bottom to someone looking up at the top. And people up at the top who seem to want more, while those at the bottom just want enough to get by on, and they don't even know that sometimes. And it's, it reflects many different views from that sort of point of view, really.
Well, I have to tell you, you sent me 4 tracks for my perusal this morning, and I have to say, I was blown away by them. I really was. I really hope that people enjoyed listening to that one. We'll have Andy playing live later, and also another demo track at the end. But I did really love the lyrics and your explanation. But the music is it's so, I don't know. It brings me back to my childhood or something. There's something very 80s and innocent about it or something. I really liked the vibe in the music as well.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of my influence would be from the 80s, being the age I am, like, and listening to a lot of that music at the time. And I try to keep it very melodic. I like music to be very melodic. You know, I think a lot of music that's around today, without sounding old and stuck in the mud, there's not so much melody to it, and it's all studio effects and everything like that, and it's nice sometimes just to keep music simple, keep it melodic, and it gives it character.
Absolutely, yeah, and you definitely are making melodic music. That's certainly true. Something I think a good acid test always is if you're kind of singing along after only hearing it twice. It's caught you, and I certainly was doing that with your songs today.
That's great to know, yeah. As you say, it's a good song sticks in the head. Even if it annoys the hell out of you, it sticks in your head, and that's the mark of a good tune. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. Yeah, and they definitely are catchy. They have that whatever it is that kind of naturally sits well within. I suppose you're vibrating at the harmony is vibrating at the right harmony for the human to accept it in very easily. It seems. That's what it seems to me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of science to that stuff. Where when people say, well, you have to get a certain rhythm and a certain sound of the bass and all that sort of thing to music. But I think if you can just get it naturally, and I think you'll be far better off than trying to delve into all that sort of stuff. And I think, yeah, you get lucky, and sometimes you just know what taps into people, and you work from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that applies to all the arts and sciences, and we'll definitely be talking more about this in the future, but how art and science are actually kind of coming together at the top that all these years of being apart, they're actually realising that they're totally intertwined with each other. The way you say there now that there is a scientific reason for a song sounding a particular way, but when it just feels right, in other words, you're doing it naturally, that applies right across the board. I could give an example with photography, like when I first took it up seriously, I was just framing the subject as it looked right. And then later on, when I was learning in a more official way, I figured out about the rule of thirds and splitting the screen up into 9 and what have you. And I realised all along I'd just been doing that naturally without even being taught it or learned it. It just came natural. And I think when we do find our creative side to us, because we all do have it, it very much is releasing into that kind of just going with what feels right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, see, some things you can't teach to people. They've either got it or they haven't, or some can learn it, some can't. And it's, as you say, with your business now, photography, and that you do a lot of. It's, I don't know much about photography at all, I'll be honest with you. But obviously, people who do that all the time, they come up with their own ideas, and they might find out later on, like you say, that it's something that someone somewhere in a university has hit upon and said, well, if you do this, this will happen, and you tap into this. Whereas some people, as you said yourself, you have that, and it comes to you naturally, which is brilliant,
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing how I think a lot of us, like almost referring back to the song there, Deal or No Deal, where the people at the bottom, all they want to do is really be themselves. They don't want anything else. They don't want piles and piles of gold and piles of pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. We just want to live and create the life that gives us pleasure, and I think that is evident within your lyrics, definitely, with this and possibly some more of your songs, because I know I would have met you originally on the protest scene, wouldn't I?
That's right, the water protests. I can't remember which one it was. It was probably...
There were so many of them there for a spate, wasn't there?
Exactly, yeah. It could have been a multitude of ones.
Yeah.
Listowel, Tralee maybe, or even the Abbeyfield one, but I'd say it was probably Listowel or Tralee. But yeah, as you say, there was a multitude of them for a good while,
and I think the water, certainly for me and an awful lot of others, was the catalyst that kind of set off this whole wonderful new path that we're all on now and expanded our horizons. I know from your Facebook updates that you have very good knowledge, and you've extended it way past just water into how deep this rabbit hole is actually around us at the moment. What else can you tell us about that kind of... You're very much into homelessness, eviction, stuff like that, like myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in an age where people, they can switch from one subject to another so quickly, and I think it's, the multitude of things that are fired at people in the media, it's sort of, you don't have time to focus on one and concentrate on it and delve into it before they throw something else at you, and it changes your thought pattern completely. And I think, it's important to keep driving home to people. Some will switch off, you can't help that. Some will, turn and listen and want to know more. And I think, social media is a great way of doing it. It's a brilliant way, because you don't have to be full on all the time. You can have a laugh and touch on other things, and a bit of humour going and everything. But it's still a great way of getting across to people the issues that are counting to people at the minute, to so many people. Homelessness being one of them. We only saw the report out the other day about the increase in Dublin yet again, and Cork as well. Cork has had a tremendous increase in homelessness. Something like, I think it's about 130% or something, just up alone since last year. And it's, as I say, you don't want to be full on in the face of everybody all the time with it, because a lot will switch off. But it's important that it's kept up there in focus enough for people to want to know more about it, and hopefully try and do something to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you try to address that in your music as well as your actual action on the ground as well, which you were involved in.
Yeah, I wrote a song there a while back called Nameless Days. I watched a documentary on TV, and it showed a woman living in a hotel with her teenage daughter.
Yeah.
And I know she's involved very heavily now in trying to combat homelessness herself up in Dublin.
Yeah.
And it shook me, like, it was the way her daughter was expressing it. It really shook me, and I thought, well, I'm not a millionaire. I don't have access to media, TV stations or radio stations like that. And I thought, well, what can I do, to try and make just a small difference, or trying to help others to make a difference as well, inspire other people. And so, I'm a musician. I write songs. So maybe that's the best way for me to go about it, and try and do something about it. So I just sat down and I wrote a song, Nameless Days, and it was just from the perspective of a homeless person. A lot of it was influenced by what happened to Jonathan Corrie up in Dublin a few years back as well. As you know, his body was discovered yards from the Doyle, from Leinster House, which highlighted the irony of the tragic irony of the situation. Where you have people in the Doyle, in Leinster House, who what you could say is obscene amounts of money for what they do. And at the other end of the scale, you have a man with absolutely nothing whatsoever, dying on his own in the cold, just within 100 yards from him.
Yeah.
It strikes you raw when something like that happens. It should do anyway. If people are not struck raw by that, I think there's something wrong with them, to be honest with you. Because, if people with consciences, they should be driven by that, to do something to try and help, however small. Because not everybody can do a lot. Appreciate it. They've got jobs to hold down, they've got families, and they've got lives of their own. But everybody can do something, somewhere, small, to help, and try and make it a better world for us to live in. And I think we've got a responsibility as human beings to do that, however small. So what I didn't do much. I just wrote a song, but it was what the song could have done, which is the way I looked at it. Not the fact that it was just a song. It's what it could have done afterwards. And so that was my output to it. Just try and do that, get it out there, and try and use it to raise money for the Simon community, who are doing so much on the ground themselves to try and combat homelessness.
Well, why don't you give us a few bars of that, Andy, live there now? I think you have your guitar, do you?
There's nowhere I can go, there's nowhere I can stay. Nobody wants to know in these busy streets today. All the thoughts stripped into nothing, all the senses slip away. On a shop window TV, sad and afraid to roll. 161 passed by, a repossessed family home. On a poster on the wall, smiles a government TD. He's begging me for his vote. It's the last thing I ever see. All my father's into nothing. All my senses away. All my life should be something to someone. That's this world. All my thoughts look into nothing. All the senses away. All my life should be something to someone. Is lost in this world of meaningless days.
Whoa! That was brilliant, brilliant. Jeez, that was fantastic. Thanks so much, Andy. Are you able to talk again there? Well done, man. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. And it really does drive home the message you were talking about beforehand, that in this day and age of so-called recovery, that this is just happening. You know, a child expected to go to school coming from no home, homeless like. And I mean, as you say, it's replicated by the hundreds and if not thousands at this stage.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And as you say, in this day and age, it's not right that there's so much difference between in wealth and in health in society. It's just not right, you know. And I don't care if people label me a socialist for it, because I know it's a stick that a lot of media use to beat people with.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it doesn't bother me, because if caring and worrying about, you know, your fellow people in society means you're a socialist, well, so be it, you know. That's the way I look at it, so be it. And, you know, it's not good enough for people to accept in this day and age the way things are. It's just not good enough.
Absolutely. It's true what you say also about the mainstream media. They have a label for anybody that says outside the box, basically. If you speak about anything that's not pre-sanctioned, pre-government sanctioned, pre-media sanctioned, you speak outside of that, you're labelled whatever, like socialist, you quote, you could be a weirdo, a conspiracy theorist, you know, tin hat crazy loon, you know, or, you know, that they'll start playing racist cards and sexist cards and all. They'll play any card they can possibly do to discredit. I think this is the most important thing. They're trying to discredit people speaking the truth, because they know everything they speak is lies.
It's spot on, and the word you use there is spot on as well, discredit. Yeah, I think it's a great tool used by certain elements of the media to attack people with. You know, as you say, if you disagree with something that's the mainstream mantra, you're beyond the pale. You know, you're one of the other terms that they like to use. You know, I can't think of it in a minute, but you know the sort of terms they come up with, and it's ridiculous, really, because, you know, they're trying to put people in a situation where they don't want them to think for themselves, and they just want them to pick up a paper, read the headlines, read the story, and think along whatever lines that story tells them to think. And it's sad in this day and age that they can have so much power over people's thoughts and minds just by what they make them watch on TV or listen to on the news. You know, it's frightening in a way. It is frightening that they have so much power over people's thoughts, and they try and prevent people so much from thinking about, you know, things for themselves, and as you say, rightfully speaking out when they see things wrong.
Yeah, that's it. There's. I firmly believe, though, that history will look back on this period where we actually stopped believing those lies. I believe that on a daily basis I am meeting more and more people that speak and think like me, rather than speak and think like the example of the person in the armchair. I really do see more and more people getting out of those armchairs and asking questions and starting their own little journey. And this year, it's a very significant year here in Ireland. It's a very significant year worldwide, 2016. I don't think it's merely by a coincidence that it's 100 years on from the so-called foundation of this state.
Exactly, yeah. I think, as you say, it's pretty apt, pretty ironic that the biggest change seems to be taking place from now, exactly 100 years on from the rising. And it's great to see, it really is, because for too long there's just been this air of apathy and self-centeredness. Let's be honest, it is. People, they shut the front doors at night or in the evening, and it's a case of they're in their own little world then, and the world outside of them doesn't matter. Whether neighbours on the edge of repossession or the edge of suicide, or and for too long it's been like that, and for too long people have just kept their own thoughts for themselves. Sit at a stall at the bar, drink a pint away, and shrug the shoulders, and it just lets people get away with everything, all sorts of things. And governments, let's be honest, it lets governments get away with everything, because they can do whatever they like and treat people how they like, bring in whatever policies they like, in the knowledge or the expectation that people will just sit back and take it. And that time's got to stop, and it is stopping, thank God. It has to stop. These people have to be accountable for what they're doing. Yeah. They have to be. You can't live in a society where you allow such a privileged few to do whatever they want and claim they have a mandate for it just because that they happen to be sitting on a seat up in Leinster House. And that's not an anarchist point of view. That's nothing. It's just a case of, as a society, people have the right, and a responsibility to hold people to account for decisions they make that govern not only their lives but the lives of their friends, their neighbours, their families. And as you say, I think the tide is turning in that respect, and times are changing. I think we've seen that this year with the way the election went, that people are just they're fed up of it, and they're not prepared to sit back and shrug their shoulders anymore.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and it really is a feeling that I personally pick up, and almost anyone I ever speak to these days also picks it up. So this feeling that so many of us have, a very strong, instinctive, true heart feeling, it really is that something is happening, we're in the middle of something. And I think that brings us perfectly along to the song we're going to play out with by you, A New Tomorrow, even the name itself. Yeah,
again, a song I wrote, it's not one of my more recent songs, a song I wrote a couple of years ago. It's a song of hope, really. I think we all have to have optimism, have to have hope, and again, it's one that tackles a couple of issues rather than just sticking to the one. But it's mainly a theme of hope. I think we're all looking for a new tomorrow. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll play out with that, but also, Andy, in the meantime, I'm going to get a few links off of you, especially about Nameless Days and how people can raise money for the Simon community through that. And also, you do play live quite a bit, don't you?
I do, yeah. That's my regular.
You have a couple of regular gig venues in Abbeyfield, is it?
Yeah, around Abbeyfield, playing North Kerry quite regularly, areas around Kildimo, Tay. So yeah, it's West Limerick, North Kerry mainly is our circuit. Yeah.
So anyone wanting in that area to have a good night out, where are you playing this weekend?
This weekend I'll be at Matt McCoy's Bar in Abbeyfield on a Saturday night.
Excellent.
Kicking off at 10:30.
Lovely.
And on Sunday then I'll be at the Crown Hotel in Castle Island.
Oh, lovely! You're getting ever closer to the.
Soon be hitting Tralee.
Soon we're hitting the big lights now. So anyway, so people, you can catch Andy pretty much any time around the Abbeyfield, kind of North Kerry, South Limerick area. He plays very often. He's at this weekend at Matt McCoy's and the Crown. Is that correct?
That's right. The Crown Castle Island then.
So Matt McCoy Saturday, the Crown on Sunday. And we're going to play out with his another one of his wonderful demos. Thanks again, Andy, for coming on, and this is A New Tomorrow.
I fell asleep today. Somehow I drifted away to a land undivided by what we believe. Walking by the sound of another life hitting the ground, and the face before me torn with grief. And if God is listening up on high, I'd like to ask the question why
my travels to Tipperary. Afterwards, I ended up in Corofin, and good old Tommy Collins gave me a bit of an interview, just kind of recapping over that momentous week of his. So here it is.
Well, from Wednesday morning, I was above at the castle doing my resource work and putting in my hours anyway in the morning first, and waiting for a lawnmower to arrive so I could go cutting the grass. That didn't arrive until about half 10, 11. And it was about 11:30, 11:45 when I started cutting the lawns. So I was working away at that, and my phone was ringing, but I didn't hear it. That was my neighbour that I'd got missed calls off, trying to warn me that the cops and the private car and the van had pulled into my house, and I wasn't there. And he had seen 3 strangers outside the door that he hadn't recognised. So when he couldn't contact me, he ended up phoning my brother, Paddy. And Pat said to my neighbour that he'd be better off going over for him, and Pat would try and get in contact with me. So luckily enough, when Pat was ringing me, the box and the lawnmower had filled and I was emptying it, and I heard the phone ringing, and it was my brother. And answered him, and he started giving out, asking me where was I, and I said I was at the castle doing my work. And he says, get back down to the house as quick as you can. And it only takes me about 5 minutes to get from the castle to my house on a bike. So I cycled down quick as I could, and within that time they had the locks changed, they had gone into the house, closed the windows, and they had the letterbox taken off the door and a steel plate put in front where the letterbox was. That's the first thing I realised. Then the windows closed, and when I cycled in I noticed the locks changed. So we had to contact Brian McCarthy then and see what was the next step. And he said to get into the house first and then report it to the guards. So when I got back into the house and changed the front door lock, and when we were going back to the back door, seeing what we could do back there, we found the front door lock left inside the back door. So we were able to reverse that, turn in the damaged side and keep out the good side, and put that in the back door. And then we went off to Corofin Guard Station. Doesn't usually have cops situated on a daily basis. So we went to Ennistimon, and that was closed. So that was about 4 o'clock. We were back there, and my neighbour said that we'd go out to the Hinch for a while and just watch the waves. And we went out and done that and came back into Ennistimon, and they said that we have to go to Corofin, that this Corofin Guard Station is dealing with it. So we went back to Corofin. There was no one there. We had to make a phone call there for the sergeant. And waiting for him then, and he said, well, how's it going, Mr. Collins? I suspect. And I said, that's right. And he said, well, there was a repossession order on your house today. And I said, that couldn't have been true because it's going through the courts at the moment and they're supposed to notify me. And he says, well, I've seen the documents that they had and they were signed by a judge. And he says, my responsibility is now to make sure that you're not sleeping under the stairs for the night or the next few nights. So I have to make a phone call and get your possessions out of the house. And I said to him, well, that's okay, I'm already back in the house. And he got a shock, then he had to cancel the call to figure out what he was going to say to the person he was ringing when he realised I was back in the house. And he says to me, how did you get back in? And I said, sure, I built it, I know how to get in and out of it. So he says, oh, right, you're back in the house, yeah. Look, there's my new set of keys. Oh, right. there's the old ones if you want them.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't want them, so he said, that's grand, so well, if you're back in your house, so you're back in your house, there's nothing more we can do. Fair play to you.
Yeah.
Best of luck. And I was at the house then that evening, about 7 o'clock, past 7, when the Liverpool match was starting. And there was a friend with me in a black Jeep pulled up outside, and I thought there's tourists. They might have been lost and looking for directions, so I was walking towards them and he was at the door. And when I realised that it was Sean Murphy from Bank of Ireland, I turned away from him and kind of went back towards the door of the house and getting him to leave my property. And he came out of his Jeep and approached the doors and tried to fit the keys that he had, but he realised that they weren't fitting and the locks were changed again.
Yeah.
So he was kind of a bit upset leaving. And I had gone into my house and got my phone so I could get his number of the Jeep and ring someone. But when I was trying to do that, he was even blocking that. So when I went back in to go into my house then, with about half the number in my head, and he tore off down the road at a very fast speed, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't get out in time to see the Jeep.
Yeah.
And I knew then that that was more false work. And Brian McCarthy said that there'd be someone there to meet me on Thursday morning and that he'd be up Friday. And they came up Thursday morning. We were doing paperwork all day Thursday. Brian McCarthy and the crew from the anti-eviction was supposed to arrive at 9:30. I got a phone call saying that they were late because of all the organisation that they had to do. Got another phone call at 10:30 saying that there'd be another delay. So
This is normal though with us.
by the time that they arrived, I invited them into the house, welcomed them, and thanked them for the help, and brought them in, made them a cup of tea, and they didn't even have to get to drink that before they had to go out against the bullies to defend my house. And I'd just like to thank them for everything that they're doing at the moment. It's been mighty help.
Well, thank you as well, Tommy, for making this the monumentous point in history 100 years on from the last time. But how now, like, I know what it was like out on your front lawn with those bully boys. It kind of all went in a bit of a blur. I don't actually remember leaving your sitting room. The next moment I was going across the threshold of the front door where I met our Garda friend trying to enter your house. But what was it like for you inside?
I was kind of watching everything that happened and trying to figure out what was going to happen. And
But you must have been blown away by what was coming across the front lawn, like.
when I had seen them coming across the front lawn and trying to approach, and then when they gone back out and they tried to come in the side, then again, I thought oh no, this is all over. But then they were put back out again, and after that, then when they went away, I was told that I was going to be famous, and when it goes on the internet, and I was kind of relaxing a bit and kind of getting used to becoming famous. But I think that only lasted for 20 minutes, half an hour, when Brian McCarthy started explaining what had happened, and the next details was that instead of taking on the bank in Ennis and the courthouse in Ennis, I ended up taking on the bank, the courthouse, the Gardaí, the army, and the government.
Why do
And
you say?
I think there's about 6 or 7 weeks, is it now, since we're
It's about 6.5
waiting
weeks.
for
that's
answers,
right.
and still nothing happening, but
They're scurrying around.
all the information that I'm getting from the other evictions that's happening around Ireland, it's just crazy the way we were all getting to connect together, like.
Absolutely, this is the thing.
And
isn't it?
it's all going for the one cause, so
Yeah.
it's good in that relief that I'm not the only one now.
Yeah.
And
And
things are becoming
you've
easier.
actually been, the whole thing kicking off at your place has actually been responsible for spreading it out in your general area as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
There's even a few of my friends now even started the paperwork against the bank, and they've even relief got with the information that they've got from the people that are helping me.
Yeah.
And it's good to see the stress and strain taken off them as well. Like,
Absolutely.
I can even see
it's
them.
spreading out
Yeah.
constantly. And the whole thing with you was, I was even saying it to you earlier, that you were the ideal person at the right time, just like everything once we open ourselves up to the truth and follow our heart, we end up meeting the right people in the right places
Exactly.
at the right time. And we said there earlier on that even though one or two of us barely knew you, I think I'd only met you once prior to that Friday, hadn't I, at
The
the court?
22nd of October, I think,
Yeah,
when it first kicked off last year.
that's right. But I barely knew you, let's say,
Yeah.
and I'd never met your brother. He hadn't met half of us, and so on. But 10 minutes later, when it kicked off, we all knew we had each other's back, and we had nothing to worry about.
Yeah, we knew we were in safe hands, and
Yeah.
we were all going for the one reason, and
And
that's
that
the
kind of
reason we
vibe
met up, I think.
vibrates out.
Big time.
I
yeah.
think your neighbour across the road felt it almost immediately, and
It
then,
did, yeah.
then it spread
Even
out
that
even
evening,
further.
like, that evening when he had all the information and
Yeah.
got all the information, that was a Friday evening. By Saturday evening he was hopping waiting for it to start the paperwork, and
Yes.
it's just crazy but
Yeah.
things have gone now, like, and
And then,
hopefully we'll find good results at the end of all this anyway.
well, I suppose when you think of it, the now is all that exists, and the now is that you're in your house.
Yeah,
So, in the now you've won already.
and all the stress about
You're not another homeless
Stress and strain is gone.
statistics. Yeah, that's another thing. Your stress strain is
yeah.
your whole mood, your aura
Just
has
looking-
changed.
Just looking forward to a happier life now, basically, without stress and strain. Hopefully we will get that.
And
We might
really,
have another
really,
bit.
like, isn't that really all we're looking for? Just,
Yeah.
just a happy life without stress and strain. We don't want too much. We just want, you
Do
know,
what we're willing to do and not
Yeah.
to be pushed any further.
exactly. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you for everything.
This is Owen O'Flaherty. Hi, are you there?
How you doing, Ned? Good to hear you.
And you, thanks for coming on. So, Owen, where are you from?
Tipperary.
Oh, lovely. I was
And it's not that far away for people to go.
No, I was actually up there only 2 days ago. I was in Clonmel and Thurles just the other day. So
You never called. That's
no, I never called, did I? No, unfortunately I was so busy. But I must definitely call sometime. So Owen, we go back a little bit, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I would have met you, probably mainly on water marches, etc., I would have gotten a very chilled vibe off you, for want of a better word. And I think you're very connected with the earth and nature around you. How would you feel about that?
Guild 5. I don't know about that. Earth, absolutely. Yes, that's what I think that this movement has truly brought out, is a connectedness between people with heart and earth.
That's it, really, isn't it? We're connecting with ourselves, I suppose. Is that what you're?
Multiple levels, not just on the human level.
So we talk more about that because this is something now that I delve into myself, and some of the listeners may be interested in what we talk about when we mean levels and connections and all the rest of that. Tell me more about that.
It's our awakenedness. It's the best way of putting it. You know, we had a very interesting talk down below in Cork at the weekend where we spoke about 3 different levels that people who are awake go through. You have the child level, where we're literally held in the arms of our parents and we're snuggled up to and silly words are spoken to. And then you have the parent level, where you have the wagging finger of Enda and his cronies pointing down to us and we go, yes sir. And then you have the level that supersedes that, where we decide to stand on our own 2 feet and we're independent, we're free of thought and we're able to communicate. And that's what I'm talking about. The different levels of people, and we're able to move and to communicate with people. And it's that interlinking with folk, and more folk coming awake, more and more folk leaving that parental stage behind them and becoming true adults. And that's what I see happening.
Well, that's an absolutely wonderful way of explaining it. It's so clear when you say it like that. And that is where we're moving as individuals and thus as a whole species, yeah?
Globally.
Yeah.
Globally. I mean, the links that are being made, if you think of it, you know, you go back 10 years in Irish history, who would have thought that a protest group from Detroit would be on a stage in Dublin?
Yeah, exactly.
Or that we'd end up in a conference and we see protest groups from Berlin. We see members of political parties from Spain, from Greece. You know, that we sit down and we watch a protest movement growing not just within our own country, but on a global stage, linked. I mean, you throw a stone in Ireland and ask, you know, do you know about this? Or do you know about that in South America? Do you know what's happening over in the Middle East? Do you know what's happening in Palestine? Do you know what's happening wherever, you know? And people are becoming more and more awake of the games that are being played against us. And they're becoming adults because of that. Education is the greatest key, and that's where we're breaking barriers down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of times I hear with the key characters talking about education absolutely being the key to all of this, that once we start, you know, speaking of my own little journey, once I would have started waking to the lies and the games, as you say, it was a scary experience, I would have to say, to start realizing that everything I thought I knew is false, kind of. You know, it's no wonder that so many people would choose to stay asleep almost.
Yeah. There's a lot you can learn by sitting down and watching a silly movie like The Matrix.
Absolutely. The Matrix is like a mantra.
Do you choose to take the pipe out, or do you choose to be fed the lies?
That's it. And like, what would you say to someone now who would be like very early days, like, because we've all gone through it in our own little ways, but I suppose sometimes it's hard to explain something to somebody who is fresh with this. So how would you go? Because you did a very great simple way of explaining the levels there. You know, for us listening, that some of us may, I know I do, get a little frustrated sometimes when you try to kind of like share the word, for want of a better word. Could you give some guidance maybe on how we could pass on the light to others more successfully or easily or whatever?
Tough question, my friend. You know that the best way that if we choose to guide someone along the path and get them a little bit more awake, the best way is not to try and tell them.
Yeah.
Because if you try and tell them, you only become the parent. And you show me any teenager around Ireland and what they regard the parents' words for.
Yeah.
They won't listen. What the way that I like to share things with people is through easy medium that folk can understand. Okay, now the movies I watch, they go from the extreme stupid to the extreme complex, and I mash the whole lot together, because even in the extreme stupid, you can find that gem of knowledge and utilize it. So if you were to even sit down and look at a movie like Gandhi,
okay,
Cry Freedom, The Power of One, Pay It Forward, and just get the essence of those movies out of them, and then go on from there. And if you're looking for social movements, you look at movies like The Story of Cesar Chavez, you know, and how he managed to bring the whole wine industry to a halt just for working for workers' rights.
Yeah.
There are multitude of movies. You quick Google,
yeah,
and have lists of hundreds and hundreds of movies. And then, after watching the movies, you go and investigate that little bit more. Look for that gem of a quote. Keep on looking for that gem. Read individuals like Gandhi from 1919. Read Martin Luther King. Listen to his speech. Not just the words, but where he was coming from. Watch the protest movement from Greensboro and how they developed as an adult protest movement, not just one that screamed, but an adult protest movement, and they saw what was coming against them and they prepared for it. That is what I'd advise people. The simple things like looking for a quote. You were talking about education. Do you realize 200 years ago, near enough anyway, it was said that the greatest fear of government is an educated people.
Yeah.
And we're not educated enough.
I suppose we're going through that process at the moment, I guess.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And it's never ending.
Absolutely.
Never ending. And that's what we got to keep mindful to. Because every stick and every stone will be chucked at us, whether it's being called a member of a terrorist group, a dissident, or anything else they wish to call me, you, or anyone else. I don't really care. We're doing what's right. We're standing up for what's right. And if the folk at the top don't realise what's right, then it's time for us to teach the folk at the top what's right and what's wrong in our society.
Absolutely, yeah, that sounds fantastic. You have a great way of explaining things, and that was why I wanted you on, because you just so calmly and easily explain things. So I really hope that people have understood it like I have with your words. I find each time when I make a kind of a revelation that it seems that I have built up massive amounts of complications, and then when I see the key, I realise how simple it actually was all along. I think it's a whole... our lives become overcomplicated, and the noise that's constantly bombarded in regular life is all there to keep us so busy that we don't even notice what's going on. And the herd mentality, I guess.
You have it in one.
Yeah.
Have it in one. You know, there's a lot there's a lot to the old way of life in Ireland where we sat down with family around a table and discussed.
Yeah.
With no noise.
That's it.
Just family and friends. And whether or not they agreed with you or not, that didn't matter. A discussion was had. And it's amazing how much you can learn from yourself by that if you keep mindful to what buttons people are pushing.
Very true, yeah.
If you recognize the button, you know how to stop them pushing it.
Exactly. That's right. I've said quite a few times to people recently, we can't do anything about external factors around us, but we can do how we react to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really that was a major part of unlocking myself, was understanding and realizing that whatever happens, it's what I bring to the table that makes it good or bad for me. You know, it's only I that can affect me directly.
That's your power, my friend. Yeah.
So anyway, I think what we need to do at this point, I think we need to assure everyone out there, because I know that I'm susceptible to this. I get a bit stronger having said that, but I am still susceptible to, I suppose, what I'd class as impatience, and a little bit of fear obviously is still there about will the time ever come? If I don't know if you want to express it in a different way, but I definitely feel it.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're grand.
There's one thing you got to remember, okay? If you look at a baby,
yeah,
how much effort does a baby go to take that first step? How many times do they fall?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Now we're still in infant stages.
Yeah.
You know, as a movement in Ireland, from what I've seen because you remember that the first time we met wasn't at a water protest; it was in Ballyhay.
That's right, yeah.
And you remember the way Ballyhay was in the early days.
Yeah.
And what grew out of that. You know, we are in infant stages, but we're growing.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop. We might have 100 times we've fallen on our backsides, but I tell you one thing, we're getting up faster.
Yeah,
that's the fun part of that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it's lovely you use the word fun as well. Vincent last week on the show as well. It's fun to do these things, and I think the more that we have fun as individuals, it passes on to those around us. It infects them. Yeah. They end up having fun, and so on, until one day there's enough of us in the world all just having fun to realise that this actually is a fun place.
Yeah, we're all smiling, everyone looking around wondering, why the hell has he got a frown on his face?
Exactly, rather than why the hell has he got a smile on his face, like it could often be these days, or in the past at least.
That's it. Remember, the establishment can't handle people having fun. It's against the rules. Parents, wagging finger.
Absolutely. I mean, even when I was on Sean's show myself there a couple of weeks back, that's pretty much what I said, that when we're in the courts, they can't react to us laughing and smiling at them, it's the most powerful weapon.
It is.
Indeed. And I just wanted to thank you now that that brings me nicely into when talking about Sean and weapons. Apologies, Sean Maguire, for saying Sean and weapons in the same sentence. But when I was on Sean's show there a couple of weeks ago, which helped kickstart this podcast itself, you did me the honour of very quickly and totally on your own bat of making a meme.
With your words.
Yes. So I just wanted to, while I had you on the air, I know I thanked you separately to that, but that really, really made my day big time.
Your words, my friend.
I know, they just flowed out that day, and it was all part, like I've had chats with you, about this podcast and everything, and a few others, and it was all part of all of that. And I think that, listeners, this is kind of what we're talking about, that we don't really know what's going on, but if we just carry on doing our thing and shining the light, the thing that's supposed to happen kind of starts happening. Would you say that's true, Owen?
It's, imagine a calm pool of a calm lake, and what's happened is several years ago there was a stone cast in the lake and the ripple started, and then somebody else came along and chucked another stone in, another ripple, and now you have hundreds, if not thousands, throwing stones into the lake. We're starting a tsunami, and we're going to change Ireland for the better.
And thus the entire world.
Inch by inch.
Inch by inch. And I think I did hint to this as well before, but there is something special about Ireland, isn't there? There's something more than just... I know it's hard to be objective when you are, in fact, Irish yourself, but trying to speak objectively, what is it about Ireland that sets Ireland apart from the rest?
You know, I've been very lucky. I've met people who have worked in the White House some nearly 50 years ago. I've met individuals that protest on a regular basis outside the White House. I've met individuals that have been chased to Australia by the FBI and threatened down there. I've met individuals who fight for indigenous rights and refuse to be guided by those that are organising international meetings because they believe in the simple fact that they are standing up for their rights, and it is right to stand up for your rights. And if you look at Irish history, no matter how far back you go, you will always find that there are individuals there who stand up for their rights and for what is right to do. And that's what makes us so different. No matter what the oppression, we stand tall, we smile, and we will keep on going. And that's what people love about the Irish. We never give up.
Very, very true. And I think they are perfect words to end this on, Owen. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Nidge. Pleasure always.
And for everyone, Owen was very much in the background encouraging me and helping me along the way, and not just for this last project but all along the way, and he's a great rock of just calm common sense.
Don't tell my wife that, Nidge, please.
Well, I know she's in the background, so I've already told her. Look, it's great to hear the laughter there at the end. Owen, look, we'll talk to you soon, and thank you so much. Well, everyone, that's the show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed our special guest star and our three other regular guests. So I'd like to just thank Jay, Andy, Tommy and Owen again. Thanks for coming on the show. Again, we have another diverse show planned for next week. Again, on Thursdays. Every Thursday is the new episode. You can search the old episodes. They'll all still be there in the list. So this will be podcast number 2. And going into the serious bit, if you have a mortgage that you're under distress with, if you know anyone, your neighbours down the street, family members or you, just go online, go to Facebook, look up Anti-Eviction Task Force, contact them on their main page, or look up The Hub and contact them on their main page. We will get back to you very quickly and your life will change. Now, we're playing out with a very interesting song this evening. It's one that has played a lot. Well, not this particular song, but you'll hear it now in a minute, and the speech within the song has recently played a lot in my life. So it's not by anyone. It's called by Kei Suzuki. I just randomly found it. It's called Let Us All Unite. And I think you might recognise the chap who is sampled in this. So, peace everyone, love, truth. See you next week.
I'm sorry.
Good night.
But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite, 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 Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, let us all unite!